All right, and welcome back, everybody. We're getting to our last match of the day between Osborne 1 versus Wagner. But of course, first, we're going to take a quick look at the brackets and see how they finished up. All of the brackets except Pool 2 are finalized at currently, so you get to actually have a little image of what's going to be happening during the finals next weekend. So we'll start with Pool 1, of course. And as we did state on this one after the last game, but you can see that Osborne 2 and McNally are your two finalists from this group. And we're going to move quickly on to Pool 2, which is actually the topic of this game. And I think this is actually going to be incredibly interesting. So we have Wagner versus Osborne 1. And for some of you who are a little bit more astute, you might see that if Wagner does win this game, there will be a 3-1 tie in this group. But if Osborne does take it, it's going to be Osborne taking a 5-0 clean sweep of their group, and then Jasper Place will be going into second. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of hoping for the tiebreaker because it'd be super cool. If Osborne does manage to dash Wagner's hopes here, they will just take a clean finish and get first seed coming out of this group. And then moving on to Pool 3, you guys can all see that actually from the last match there, that was basically just deciding who would get first seed coming out of the group. And with Ainley 2 taking that match, they do secure the first seed. And then Lazert 1 will be coming in as the second seed. And then quickly just going to touch on Pool 4, which we did cover after the previous game, but it will be Ainley 1 taking a 3-0 sweep over the entire group, and Ross Shepard with a 2-1 score will be your finalists. So we're going to get started into draft right here for our last game of the day. This one is incredibly important for Wagner. They need to win here to stay in the tournament, while Osborne's looking to dash their hopes and send them out of the tournament and secure first seed. So let's get into draft as soon as we can. All righty, we're getting started here. So what are some of the early bands you think you're going to see?
I still think that Red Side, I don't know if they're going to be following this pattern, but Red Side might be also going for this dive comp as well. But so we might see a lot of some engaged champions banned out.
Yeah, and an early Pike ban coming down. Just targeting that support. Mid lane Pike did get nerfed in the last patch, so very unlikely that they were worried about that. But don't want to play against that Pike. And we got some Mira bans too.
Yeah, Samira did get, after the nerf, in patch 11. I believe 11.4, 11.3, she did get buffed again, so she's not the strongest AD carry. She's kind of back a little bit.
Yeah, she still is capable of taking over the game if you let her.
Yeah, and then we're also seeing 2 jungle bans. I believe Rengar is a jungle ban. So Evelyn and Rengar, these 2 champions, they both can go invisible. Just surprise anyone from out of the blue, and they also have very strong burst potential as well.
Yeah, and a Zed coming out here. So a lot of assassin bans coming out from Osborne 1 here, and it looks like a Kai'Sa ban. Yeah, that's pretty crucial. We've seen actually a lot of Kai'Sa get through on stream, and every time she's been incredibly strong. Even in the center high game where they unfortunately did go down, the Kai'Sa was still extremely relevant in that match. It looks like we might have some priority onto the Hecarim here. A very, very strong jungler at the moment, and yeah, that's locked in, using that first pick to pick up a very top-tier jungler.
Yeah, definitely, and I think Wagner, they might be responding. Oh, we have not seen a Jhin yet this tournament.
We have not seen a Jhin, and I'm very excited. And a Nunu! Yo, Nunu! Okay, I'm excited for this. Nunu is very, very fun to watch. We'll break him down a little bit like in the pre-match here, but we'll just focus on pick and ban, and then we'll get into the dynamics of what you can do with that character. But a Darius coming in here looking for some top lane dominance, and then actually a Kassadin might be locked in here to give them some extremely good scaling.
Yeah, I did see practicing a little bit of Kassadin, but the main thing is Kassadin, you need to get through the early phase, just weather out the storm until you get to level 16. So Osborne, they're going to be looking for the scaling, and Wagner, they're going to be looking to shut that out, possibly with a Renekton pick right there, who is a very strong early game top laner.
Yeah, definitely if they do lock in that Renekton, we're going to have some heavy trading up in the top lane. Darius looking in, Renekton's looking to go in, hit you a couple times and run away. So it's a very interesting dynamic to watch. They both do have a lot of all-in potential, but I think Darius does take it in the earlier levels if you just commit to a full all-in.
Yeah, for sure. Along with his passive as well, can make Renekton bleed out a little bit. And going back to the engage, Leona banned out.
Yeah, and like they don't have like Osborne has not picked any of their bot lane champs, so I imagine Wagner's 2 bans will be directed towards that. They do have the Kaisa ban, but I would almost not be surprised to see either another hyper carry ban, maybe the Xayah coming out from Wagner, or they're going to target just 2 straight under the support.
Yeah, I do believe that they're going to go through with another support ban here, maybe a Thresh ban, just because of or a Nautilus ban, just because of how important supports have been in these matches. Like, there we go, Nautilus.
Oh,
ban.
you're so smart. I got a nice prediction on the Nautilus.
So Wagner, they still need to pick a mid laner, and I do believe that they need to pick a support as well. Banning out the just because I think it's mainly because of how much range she has and how annoying she can be with the poke. Along with Jin. Jin is also a very range, has a lot of range as well.
Ooh, that's a mini Swain pick. That's either a mid lane or a support. I'm not quite sure yet.
I don't think it's going to be support Swain. Who knows, but I do think that Swain is going to be going into the mid lane as well. Going against this Kassadin, he definitely will have a lot of early pressure just because of how weak Kassadin is early.
Oh, Vayne! Oh, that is quite the scaling pick, but it can be quite interesting into the Jin because Jin does with the abilities, but Vayne just gives you that, like, it looks like Osborne is just full committing to scale the Darius and the Hecarim to kind of shore up their earlier game. But once Kassadin and Vayne get to like those later levels, like say 16, for example, you just have so much power.
They still need to pick a support, so I'm assuming it might be a Thresh to be able to protect the Vayne as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. 3 seconds left. What do they lock in?
Oh, they're going for Enchanter. Completely committed to scaling, so it's going to be up to Wagner to really punish this weak early game. Now Lulu does give you some like sustain in the lane to just like keep the Vayne alive, like through polymorph shields and stuff like that, but she still doesn't have the most early game pressure. She's more about that, giving you increased attack speed, speeding people up, and kind of just shielding people in the later parts of the game.
And if she does get the Ardent Sensor as well, Vayne is just going to be a very scary champion to deal with. Okay, that is a Wukong, and I do not know who is going to be playing the support, or what the support is going to be on the side of Wagner.
Yeah, this is very interesting because I think Swain is like, or Wukong are actually very good into these lanes. I think Swain is actually a little bit better, particularly into the Lulu, because Wukong can go in, but he kind of just gets polymorphed and gets, run around as a little rabbit or something and not have a very good time. Well, Swain can just outrange the Vayne and the Lulu, pull them in, lead into Jin's very potent, like either force shot or just damage from his combos. So I actually think it will be the Swain pick, just judging by the lanes. But I think I've never seen a lot of Wukong into Kassadin, but I imagine it's not a good time for the cat.
Yeah, definitely not with how much dive Wukong has. And another thing, you mentioned the polymorph, and that is actually going to be very crucial in some of these team fights. If Lulu can polymorph the right champion, if she can take out the Renekton or even the Wukong coming into these team fights, that's going to put Osborne at a very big advantage.
Exactly. So I think it's time to just kind of look at the general theme of each comp. We've seen like dive comps, counter engage comps, split push comps today. What do you think is kind of the overall theme of these comps? Because I think they actually are pretty unique from what we've been seeing today.
I do think that Osborne is a little bit more obvious. They're going for the scaling. If you pick Kassadin, you're going to go for the scaling. Obviously, Darius is right there to kind of bridge the gap between early and late game. Hecarim as well. But again, the main idea is going to be scaling with the Vayne, with the Kassadin. They're going to be these late game carries. But on the side of Wagner, there's not a lot of how do I explain it? It's not as much dive, but there's still the dive if Renekton can't get the slice and dice off over onto the Darius. Wukong as well. So Nunu and Willem, though, yeah, I don't know how to break those two down. You just bring a snowball, biggest snowball ever down the lane, and you can just knock up a lot of people as well.
Yeah, so a lot of like a good early game potential there as well. But actually what Nunu also offers is just a ton of objective control with that he has a really healthy clear because of his Q, which is just a big old chomp. It heals you up a whole bunch so you can clear your jungle incredibly fast, but it also gives you an extra combo where you can just chomp a neutral monster and then smite it, and you can usually basically quote unquote out smite your jungler, the enemy jungler, even if maybe you are behind in level or something like that. So I think there will be a lot of precedence around these objectives and stuff like that. And Nunu also having that incredibly potent gank potential. You'll probably see a lot of snowballs rolling into mid lane.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I do think that a little bit more action will be happening in the top lane though, just because we have this Renekton, and Renekton wants to get ahead early. If in recent, because of the item changes, he is a lot more relevant in in the mid and late game phase, but his strong point is definitely going to be the early phase.
Yeah, exactly, and it's I think it's going to be a really interesting dynamic because Wagner, we were looking at themes and stuff like that. But yeah, I think Wagner's hard to identify because they have so many different things going on. Like I think they have a lot of like mini combos because obviously like, you have three very easy to gank lanes in the Wukong, particularly when Wukong's post 6. Renekton has easy stun setups. You have Jhin Swain combo in the bottom lane. So there's a lot of stuff that Nunu can play around. And much like we've seen in all the previous games, I think there is going to be a lot of precedence around this bottom scuttle because the two scaling picks of Osborne are in the mid lane and the bottom lane. So if you're able to assert control over that, your Nunu is very easily able to transition between those two lanes and just punish them with either snowball or something like that. But also I think another thing that might come into if the Nunu gets ahead of the Hecarim is a lot of counter jungle, because Nunu can just walk in, chomp down a few of your camps, and then just run away with a snowball. But Hecarim can also do the same thing. So I think it's going to be down to if one of the jungler gets ahead, there's going to be a lot of bleeding through the counter jungling.
Yeah, we'll also just we haven't talked about the Jhin a lot, and both Jhin and Swain, they do have a lot of range. Swain with his Swain can also use his W as a scouting tool. He is able to kind of find some vision in these pockets as well. Jhin just has a lot of range in general. His Deadly Flourish, along with his Curtain Call, he can hit you from halfway across the lane as well.
Yeah, and actually I think it's similar to the Caitlyn Morgana we seen earlier. It's actually Swain and Jhin have a ton of in-lane combos. So what you can do is you can just, like, say Swain hits an E and locks them up. You can pull them into a guaranteed Jhin W. You can the trap underneath with Jhin and then just do like a full like damage combo on top of that. So as long as you're coordinated between your two laners, there's a ton of burst damage, particularly at level 2 with these champions, that you can kind of keep an eye to look out, particularly level 3, because you get access to full combo on both characters. So I think bot lane is going to be a huge focal point because that is kind of a weakness of Osborne's early game. They do have the Lulu to keep the Vayne alive, but there's not a lot of damage there, and the Vayne does suffer a little bit in the early game, but with such a potent bot lane in the form of the Swain and the Jhin, I think they're going to poke down on them a lot. But even if it is a Kong support over the Swain, which I don't think it is, you're going to see, actually, no, they've switched on screen now, so I don't even have to guess anymore. It is the Swain support for sure. So yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of potency in that bot lane. They're going to try and snowball mid, and they're going to try and snowball bottom. Quite literally.
Yeah, speaking of snowballs, you can just, if Jhin and Swain lock up either Vayne or Lulu, Nunu just also has a guaranteed knock up with his greatest, I think it's called biggest snowball ever, his W. And that also sets them up really well for his ultimate.
Yeah, but just so much chain CC too, because Nunu does actually have an additional piece of CC that some people don't know about. Because when you're throwing the snowballs at people, I think if you hit him with 3 or something, it will stun after a little bit of a delay, or it's either root or stun. It's been a bit. It's a root? Okay, so yeah, you can root them in place, and that'll lead even more to follow-up. So Wagner has a ton of single-target CC that you can just layer on top of somebody to the point where they just can't move. And even, like, they already do have a ton of burst damage, but even if they didn't, if you got somebody stunned for 10 seconds, you know, you can probably kill them.
Yeah, well, on the side of Osborne, we're not seeing as much crowd control from these champions. Obviously, Hecarim, he does have his Onslaught Shadows, his ultimate, to be able to fear everyone. Lulu does have a little bit as well with her ultimate, but the main thing is going to be her polymorph, which she has to choose one member to use on Wagner.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be a big theme of this match, is Wagner, I think, does have the superior early game comp, but they need to utilize it properly to put Osborne behind. And with Osborne being as dominant in the group as they was, it seems like the players are fairly individually talented too. So it's going to be down to how well can Wagner apply their comp and maybe overcome potentially a lower skiller base, lower player skill, but we will see that in game to actually confirm it. I'm just judging from my very small result pool that I have to pull from.
And then Jhin, I do think that he does decently well into these team comps have a very strong tank because he's not the best tank shredding AD carry.
Yeah, that's for sure. But just combining the amount of burst damage he has, they should be able to exploit maybe some of these squishier members of the team. Because though with Kassadin losing Rod of the Ages, he still does keep a ton of his damage that he did have previously, but he's nowhere near as tanky as it used to be. So he can be a lot easier to kill if he does just kind of dive in belligerently.
Might see our first Everfrost of this tournament.
Oh yeah, Everfrost does lovely tank stats, so I am excited. I think Everfrost is such a cool playmaking tool that you can utilize. I think it's just a really, really strong item. You do get lower damage on it, but if your team is there and ready to play around it, it is quite potent to do.
For the viewers who are a little bit new to Everfrost is another AP Mage mythic, which when you activate it, it deals damage in front of you in a cone shape, but it also applies a slow, and if you're in the middle of the cone, it applies a root.
Yeah, exactly. Leading up to like follow-up CC and stuff like that. So for example, if you build it on Kassadin, who doesn't traditionally have anything outside of a slow, you can actually lock down targets and like let your ult recharge or anything like that and just drop another combo into them while they're just sitting rooted in front of you, unable to do anything.
And then also when Kassadin or Hecarim goes in, you can also Lulu also has her ultimate to be able to make to just give them more stats, more health, and to help them survive longer in these team fights.
Yeah, and if the Hecarim is able to utilize like a strong jungle pressure and stuff like that in the early game and deny this Nunu from getting started, he can actually impact a lot of the lanes. And if you do get your Kassadin or your Vayne ahead, they become that inevitable force much, much earlier, which is obvious it sounds. If you get Kassadin to level 16, or at least to the power he should be in his level 16, it is not something you want to deal with remotely.
Not, and I do want to know, as we're loading up into the game, none of the top laners, I'm looking at summoner spells right now, none of the top laners took teleport. In fact, we're not even seeing a teleport at all on Osborne.
Yeah, no, Osborne just looking to just like smack down on some lanes, I think, and get their laners fed and ahead of where they should be at the start. I think particularly that Kassadin taking Ignite is interesting. So I think we might see some more gank potential and pressure there to try and utilize that Ignite and maybe take 1-to-1 if they didn't have that Ignite, but it does reduce their global pressure, which might be quite a disadvantage in the later parts of the game because Wukong does have that teleport. And even if Wukong's not at the strongest point, if you come in with a Wukong ult, you can just sometimes turn a fight straight off of that.
You can also see that Lulu, she opted to take the She opted to take the exhaust, as when Wukong jumps in, when Renekton jumps in, Lulu is just gonna have to peel for this Vayne and Kassadin as well. So exhaust will be beneficial in those scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting started in a way here. They're just like leashing them up. I'm kind of curious to see, what do you think the early jungle pathing from both of these junglers is going to be? We've seen a lot of double buff takes and then straight into Scuttle. Do you think that's going to repeat, or will there be something a bit different this time?
I think that just both of these Nunu and Hecarim, they do want to farm up. I think that there might be a little bit of scuffle in the top lane again because oh wait, the Renekton is mid and the Wukong is in the top lane.
Well, it seems our entire life has been a lie, but I think many of the themes of what is going to happen in this lane will stay the same because Renekton is looking to bully that Kassadin down early. Well, I think Wukong will be a little bit disadvantaged against the Darius, but because Wukong does have so much armor naturally in his kit, he may be able to work it back from there. And look, we got the snowball coming down already.
Yeah, I think that stealing some CS. I do think that putting the Renekton in the mid lane against the Kassadin is a pretty smart move because of Renekton's strong early game. You do want to.
Yeah, there's that early game combo I was talking about. Just look at that damage range. But Vayne is trading effectively onto the side. You're looking for one more auto to take him down, but doesn't quite get it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who hit level 2 first, but like you can tell when everyone hit level 2, the fighting just started.
Yeah, exactly. And then just looking for some aggressive trading down here. The shield kind of mitigates that. The Vayne going to get in here. Man, it's just a little bit poking back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. It also looks like that both the junglers will be pathing towards this top side, and if something does happen in the top, scuttle crab, Darius is going to have the first priority there, just because he has to push over the lane. So I don't think there's going to be anything happening in this top scuttle, and we'll see Nunu heading over into the bottom lane later. Oh,
as we saw away from like even a second there, we see a turret dive fully coming up from the Darius, and that is just the sheer strength of Darius in the early game. And they're looking for a gank. We've got the Drift Nation on the snowball, but they won't be able to kill because the Hecarim is nearby and they have the level advantage in the mid lane.
Yeah, Kassadin already has a CS lead, but Renekton is going to be able to clear some of these minions out after. Actually, yeah, with the mid lane priority that Osborne have, Hecarim is going to be able to double scuttle again.
Yeah, no, and that's a huge... Just you hate to see it because you wanted your Nunu to be ahead in order to be able to affect these lanes, but with securing that bottom scuttle there, they've kind of denied a lot of the early game pressure that they wanted to make in these lanes, and they're just kind of letting the Kassadin and the Vayne scale up here. Now, Kassadin will lose a lot of that farm there, but...
I don't think so, because it's...
Oh no, he will get there in time. I underestimated the tankiness of the old and he didn't take it. I mean, they didn't take the cannon. All right, quite unfortunate. You know, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, you can also. I do believe, is that a Seeker's Arm Guard that he purchased?
Oh yeah, no, the early Seeker's Arm Guard is crucial in that lane. Because not only do you just get it's such a gold efficient item to begin with, but having armor against Renekton in the early game just negates a lot of that pressure you can put down. But it doesn't negate the Nunu. But Nunu isn't the damage in the ganks in these games. So
yeah, just that purchase is just gonna allow Kassadin to survive the early game a lot easier.
And honestly, Kassadin is getting through this early game fairly uncontested, so it is looking so far that like the Vayne and the Kassadin are just going to inevitably scale, and this game is going to kind of end how we thought it would. But it's going to be up to Wagner to maybe utilize some of the stronger parts of their comp in the early game to maybe turn this around. But if it keeps going the way it is, Osborne is just going to scale up. We're not going to get 4-way tie, and they're going to take up 5-0 in the groups.
Yeah, we're just a little bit over 5 minutes into the game, and Osborne, they already have a 2,000 gold lead. This is mainly from, I get like the kills that we've seen with First Blood going over, and I don't think I should talk right now.
Yeah, but he's got the snowball coming down the mid there, but you can just easily sidestep that. And yeah, the big thing to look at too is the Kassadin's all, I don't think you win that 1v1. And then Hollis is going in, but the Ignite is burning down onto the Nunu. A response gank coming out from the Hecarim, and that's level 6 coming down in the mid lane. A kill going on to the Hecarim. And that, yeah, no, I think it is not looking good for Wagner so far.
No, I don't think so. It's their lane, Osborne's lane, are farming better. You can see in the top lane, the CS discrepancy is humongous.
Yup. This is what happens. I'm sure enough of you who play top lane in solo queue have experienced the sheer pain and agony of being behind a Darius. Yeah,
and then you... like there's CS advantages in the jungle as well, and we're seeing
and wins a fight down in the bottom lane. This isn't how this should be going, and that's the Vayne is getting off to a far too strong of a start here.
Yeah, not just the Vayne, the Kassadin as well. He was like once he does have this level 6 now, so I'm looking for Kassadin to start roaming to these other side lanes to accelerate this lead that his team has.
Yeah, and with Wagner might have a slight bit of control over the river right now, but with just how quickly the Hecarim and the Kassadin can get potentially to the bottom lane, they can just get there too fast with swing fights. Oh, it's so cool, but he's not tanking turret and he's still winning this trade. We got a snowball coming down, but it's just, I don't think it's going to be enough damage unless they follow up on this correctly. We do have the Renekton roaming down. Oh, the repose, that was so clean. Gets around the Nunu and he's just melting him down. A ton of damage coming down. Another kill down on the Vayne, but the lockdown from the Jin W. But we got Luluwalt coming down, and the Hecarim is here though, and that's going to completely turn this fight around. And the polymorph is just so crucial to just make the Renekton irrelevant to many kills going on to the Vayne. That Vayne is 4-0. You know, if you're playing solo queue right now, there'd be some dude in your chat going GG, and he's going to dive to the burn there. They've got all the lanes they need to be ahead. This is going to be incredibly difficult for Wagner to come back from.
Yeah, right there in the bottom lane, Lulu was, Vayne was not, but Lulu was standing right beside the minions. She was able to hit level 6, and there's more fighting right here. I think nothing much is going to amount from that. But Lulu crucially was able to hit the level 6 from the minions dying, and that allowed her to protect the Vayne.
We got some, so, you know, a little bit of flashiness coming up. But this is what happens when you're behind in the jungle. You just see Hecarim just walks in here, steals all Nunu's camps, and because the mid lane is behind as well, they can't even roam up here and maybe take like a 2v1 or anything like that. And speaking of mid lane, but no, he's just taking the scuttle there. But this is the problem now. The Nunu is going to have so much trouble getting back in this game just because of how far ahead this Hecarim is.
Yeah, definitely. Did Vayne buy... Okay, Vayne backed and just bought a full-on Kraken Slayer.
Yep, that's oh no.
Not even in the game yet.
Yeah, we're up 9 minutes, and that is a mythic already confirmed for you, Vayne. Yeah, these are the two lanes that, you know, are a little behind in the early game, but they are scaling out of control. The Kassadin is very strong, but the Vayne, I think honestly they're probably just be able to win just straight off the back of this Vayne if they want to push it very aggressively. Yeah,
and also you can kind of just see Nunu is just struggling a lot. He is over 30 CS down, and Vayne and Lulu are just able to kind of bully the lane opponents right now. But
honestly, as much as we have this engage coming in here, he's going to knock up the Lulu with the snowball, but I really don't feel like they win this fight. The Vayne is just so strong and crucially avoids the root from the Swain and is focusing down the other damage in this particular fight. But the Jhin is playing this as well as they can, but there's just too much damage. This mythic item on the Vayne early is just too potent, but they do manage to get the kill coming down, and actually the Swain might be able to turn this around. Polymorph coming down, but they are in the ult, and actually Swain is going to get a double kill off this, and a beautiful turnaround from Wagner on a fight that seemed like the Vayne was going to go for them big outplays.
Yeah, Jhin stepping into the bush prevented Vayne from having vision of him for a single second, and which kind of allowed the follow-up from Nunu and Swain to kind of get the last kill onto Vayne. And crucially, I don't think Osborne had vision in the river during that time, so I don't know if they were able to see the Nunu coming down from the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a fairly good gank on that point, but it also was, unfortunately, a kind of case in point of just how powerful this Vayne is at that point, where that was a gank that should have been completely in Wagner's favor, and they kind of just barely came out on the end of it with the Swain popping off. But
Jhin might be in trouble. No,
I don't think they quite get to him, but they're taking control. Oh no, this Vayne's coming up, but okay, I thought there was a repose coming down, and my heart kind of stopped. I'm gonna fight. Oh.
Yeah, these lanes are just going out of control. Osborne has an advantage in every single lane. You can already see 4-0-0 Darius, 5-1 Vayne. Kassadin hasn't died either, which is pretty good considering how weak his early game is. And they're going for a dive.
Yeah, the Lulu ult's gonna get them out with just enough help, but honestly, I think they're gonna go for the redive onto the Swain. And just one more auto is all you need, and that's a beautiful kill picked up by the Vayne. And unfortunately, it's like losing lane kind of sucks, but when you go down to a Darius and a Vayne, they just completely snowball your lane, because particularly the Darius in the top lane, because if you get behind Darius in the early game, it gets to the point where he can just turret dive you no matter what you do. Now we do have a gank coming down the bottom side here, but Kassadin wins on that fight. He's actually going to die to the ignite, so the Renekton can even it out, but we got to dive into the bottom lane here while that was happening. But as you see, it went in favor of the Vayne and the Lulu.
The spot lane is just so aggressive. They're playing every single chance that they have. They're going for these fights, and Rift Herald as well. It's going to accelerate this gold lead even further. Oh, and Hecarim and Sports just kind of bullying the Nunu at this point. Even a full channel ult I don't think is going to do a whole lot of damage, and that's going to be a kill picked up on the Hecarim, but also crucially, the entirety of the bottom side jungle is going to go towards the Hecarim. Yeah, Nunu can't really do much against. Like, this jungle does not belong to him when Osborne has this priority over in the bot lane. And with the Cloud Dragon... Wait, we don't have a Cloud Soul this game.
Wait, did we do it?
Pardon?
Oh, no. Isn't it? No, it's not a cloud soul. Oh my goodness, we did it. We no more cloud souls on stream. We've been redeemed by the gods of League of Legends.
Yeah, but Darius is able to pick up the top lane turret without any jungle pressure at all. And that was so close to hitting.
Yeah, narrowly escapes. Actually, they got a good gank onto the mid lane here from the Swain, but he manages to get out. They do invest the Ignite. Good zoning from the Swain W. Actually, the Swain's going to go down. Nice root on it, but that just doesn't have enough people around to finish off the kill. Good flash from Renekton to escape from the Hecarim ult.
Yeah, I do think that Wagner, they weren't able to capitalize on the weak early game of this Kassadin and the Vayne. So once they get snowballing, it just gets out of control. They weren't able to stop it.
Yeah, looking for a dragon to maybe pick up on the side here, but Lulu is there, and when you know the Lulu is there, you can't just turn on her because they have a Hecarim and they have so many ways of just getting to you quickly. And this is playing he's ahead in a nutshell. Like, you're like, oh, I'm under my tower, I'm doing okay. No, he just stride breakers in, pulls you in, and you just proceed to suffer. Oh my, the aggressive flash from the Vayne coming down. They are going to get under the tower, but Vayne can keep auto attacking away. They have the Lulu, their shields, there's Lulu ult on the table, but Kassadin finishing off the kill there. They're going to shove up this wave and likely take this tower or opt to go take something else.
No, who needs a front line when you can just flash in as a Vayne? That was just very aggressive, and it got them a kill at the end. It's gonna also get them this dragon and possibly even this inner bot turret as well.
Yeah, exactly, because they got these scaling picks and they're pretty much at the point they should be much later in the game. So I think it's going to be incredibly hard for Wagner to come back here. I think it's just going to be them slowly bleeding out as they hold on to lanes, and Osborne just decides to take objectives and stuff like that. Like, we could look into like ways maybe Wagner can get off this, but I think it's just going to straight up take some mistakes from Osborne in order for this game to turn in any way.
Yeah, we saw earlier with Jin and Swain with the CC, that combination that they had. If they can catch out some members and just hold them down long enough, have a numbers advantage over Osborne, they could find ways to get back into this game, but like you said, it's going to be very difficult for them to do so.
Exactly, and it looks like they're grouping mid, maybe trying to siege this tower down, but the Darius is there. If there's one thing Darius excels at, it's fighting more than one person. Yeah,
definitely, and you can see the only member who has a mythic item on the side of Wagner right now, and Kassadin, it just pretty free kill picked up in the top lane. I do kind of like that he killed the clone at the same time as the base body, but it looks like we got a roam coming up from Wagner to maybe try and punish this Kassadin. And I think his ult is pretty stacked up, but they know they probably can't catch the Kassadin out at this point. So just, sending a snowball over there, just, sending a little message. Yeah, I was going to say with the mythic items, Swain is the only one who has a mythic item on the side of Wagner. Like, no one else is able to Oh no, it's just so much damage coming down, and then it's going to get the reset onto the ult here. Oh, and they're going to probably pick up the Nunu on the back here. Keep in mind that Darius does have ult resets, and that's just so much damage coming down on the side of Osborne here, and they're probably just going to take mid tower and potentially take the next level turret as well. Yeah, I do think that whoever is going to be playing against Osborne next time, ban the Vayne.
Yeah, man, the Vayne. Don't let him have Darius. Just make sure you don't give them these like lane dominant champions. I think the Vayne is okay. It's just you have to understand what you're getting into and know how to play it, like how to punish it properly, which unfortunately Wagner didn't do. Or maybe they did attempt in the early games, but unfortunately it went wrong. And if it does go wrong and you get kills on that Vayne, what you'd expected at level 16 is now here at level 10, and it's not a good time.
Yeah, and we're also seeing like now some more mythic items come in for like on this Renekton. But everyone else, they're a little bit late to the party. All of Osborne have their mythic items already, and they're just so far ahead. It's over 10,000 gold lead at not even 20 minutes yet.
Yeah, and it's like Wagner's trying to engage these fights and get on top of them, but this Osborne has a surprisingly large amount of disengage built into their champs. Like, you have the riposte from all the Vayne's probably just going to melt them in like 3 autos here. Yep. And yeah, I can't. Honestly, I'm gonna call it that Darius wins this. All right, okay, maybe not, but down to my deep heart of hearts. Okay, the Nunu is here. That will confirm that the Darius will indeed not be winning this, and the Ignite ticking down, so he can't heal.
Look at the mid lane. What
But
is
it doesn't
happening
matter. You might have got the Darius, but you lost your inhibitor. And this is a big thing with League of Legends too, is that cross-map plays are of utmost importance. Because if, yes, sure, something like that's happening, but you notice it's like, oh, they have 4 guys top. Yeah, I'm just gonna go take this inhib, and then they're taking the bottom tower too. Like, they're just getting so much out of this massive commitment they threw in the top lane to kill the Darius.
Also, just very good rotations over from Osborne. Realizing that, oh, we can just come over to the spot lane, take it down. Something that has been crucial is that they have been.
Yeah, it seems our feed is currently dying at the moment, but feel free to continue your point. I think it will resolve itself soon.
Yeah, I was going to say that they're always pushing these lanes in, and that forces someone from Wagner to, what's it called, to react to it. Someone from Wagner has to go to these side lanes to clear the waves, and Osborne is just Osborne using this is just speeding up the tempo of the game and not letting Wagner get any breathing room at all.
All right, we just moved over to our backup feed so we can live watch the game, but it is currently just is Osborne just shoving it down into the middle lane, and it just doesn't look like what Wagner is going to be able to come back from this. The super minions are in the base; they're just so far ahead, and actually no, with the Lulu shield, I don't think there's going to be any kills picked up from this Jhin ult. They're just fighting back and forth here.
Line.
All right, the Swain is going in, but just melting to the Vayne. Has to flash out to keep themselves safe. But they got Darius here, they got the Vayne. And Vayne is just going in when we got the Wukong engaged, but just doesn't do a whole lot of damage. And the Vayne is on the back line here and just going to heal up from all the damage they're putting out. And this is Osborne just working on their advantage, pushing it to them and just not letting Wagner ever breathe during this game. And after this little team fight here, got to pad those KDs a little bit. Going to probably take the inhibitor, the Nexus turrets. Oh, Penta, give the Penta. Oh my. We got some all chat, and they're just going to take the inhibitor turrets and then likely the Nexus here. And that is Osborne securing their place as top in Group 2, sending Wagner out of the tournament. And I think it's Jasper Place who will be taking up second in the finals on the next week. But they're going to cast a cruise now. The Vayne is simply too strong. They're just extending this fight. Hey, got to pat the KDs and be like, hey, look at me, man. 14-1 at the end of the game, and that is just a clean, dominating victory by Osborne. They picked the late game scaling comp and just managed to make it not feel like one at all.
Yeah, I don't think there's any more that I can say. Osborne, again, they had the Wagner was not able to capitalize on the weak early game of the Kassadin or the Vayne, and if you don't do that, they're just going to get out of control. They're just going to have this lead, and I do think that they're the better scaling teams as well, obviously with the Kassadin. And when you don't punish the early game, that is what happens. You get a 17-1 Vayne or 14-1 Vayne, whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. And even the Darius on the top lane too is just a beautiful point of just you get behind the Darius in the top lane and it is not a good time. But as we're going out, it is near the end of the day, so we're going to quickly just recap all the groups and just see who made it out. I just got to get it open up on my page. So we're going to start with Pool 1 yet again. Just let you know who will all be playing in our finals there. So qualifying from Pool 1 is Osborne 2 taking the first slot with a clean 5-0 sweep of their group, and McNally will be pulling up second with a 4-1 representation in that group. And moving on over to Pool 2, it will be Osborne 1 with, as you just saw, a clean 5-0 sweep of the group, looking extremely dominant and actually might be a favor to take the tournament. And then Jasper Place squeezing by with a 4-1 victory there, not having to deal with any three-way ties during this. And then we got Pool 3 coming up here. It is Ainley 2 qualifying with a solid 4-0 sweep of the pool. And Lazert 1 coming in with a 3-1, going to be getting the second seed coming out of Pool 3. And last but not least, we have Pool 4 coming up. And it is a 3-0 sweep by Ainley 1 of their group. The Ainley squad's really showing up during this tournament. And then it'll be Ross Shepard with a 2-1 qualifying from that group. So thank you all for coming out. I hope you all enjoyed the matches. We will be doing our finals next week for the same weekend, same time, beer at 12. And then I'd also like to give a quick thanks out to our sponsors. We're held this is held in association with the gaming stadium, and also sponsors by Herbaland and the Edmonton Public School Board. So thank you all for watching. What's that? No, and also Sportfactor, so I don't forget everybody else. So thank you all for watching. I've been John the Batman Hat, and joined by
Swanner. Yeah, it was great to be on the cast.
And have a great night.